Hi. If you can tell, this is being recorded on the same day as the Sonic Racing Cross World video. I figured might as well blow out the rest of my voice while I'm at it, so why not? Oh, whatever. I came prepared this time. This is going to be a long one. If you remember, last year I made a video about every movie and show I watched in 2023. And I wanted to do that again this year because talking about movies is fun. But I only watched like 3 new movies last year. And like 5 shows. And most of those were just second seasons of like shows I already watched. So I figured, you know what? I'm just going to talk about like all the movies and shows that I watched just for the first time last year. So that means old stuff included. And that brings the total up to like 30 things that I'm going to talk about. So that'll be fun. I don't expect to be spending that much time on each thing. At the end of each segment, I will be putting up like a screenshot of my tier list that I made in Photoshop. And to show you like where each movie ranks on it. It runs from like S to A to B to C to D to F. It'd be weird kind of ranking a TV show against a movie, but you know, whatever. Anyway, let's get started. Let's start with the new shows, because like the first one up here is Netflix's live-action re-adaptation of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Now, I already made a 2-hour-long video on that last year, which you can watch wherever the link shows up on YouTube. I don't know. Overall, I thought it was fine. Like, it's not going to take much to, like, be better than the Shyamalan film, because that is horrible. But, you know, it still has problems. There's some stuff that I really admire here. Like, I think visually it looks great. I think the cast is quite strong. Like, Dallas Liu, I think that's how you say his name. That guy is basically Zuko. Like, he looks like exactly like him, sounds almost exactly like Dante Bosco. Like, I think they nailed him. Everyone else is pretty good too, although there's some weird changes that they make to them. Like, a lot of Katara's fieriness is gone. Infamously, they got rid of like Sokka's like initial sexism in the early parts, which now kind of leaves him without a character arc. I don't like that. Fire Lord Ozai is actually here, like physically. He obviously doesn't really do much because like it's not time for that yet. But like I thought Daniel Day Kim did a decent job. Gives him some more characterization since I'm gonna be honest, he was pretty flat in the cartoon. Azula, May, and Ty Lee are also here. They don't really do anything, but it's kind of nice that they're here. Setting up for season 2, which yes, there will be seasons for book 2 and book 3, Earth and Fire. I think my biggest problem with this is that they're doing the thing that every show is doing nowadays, where it's like, oh, instead of making like a bunch of shorter episodes, now we just need like 6 to 10 very long, like hour-long episodes. And I'm like, stop doing this, shows. Like, it's just annoying. Like, it means like the pacing is usually worse. Like, it's because like Game of Thrones did it. And I'm like, that just annoys me so much. Whatever, you know what? I like this fine. They're making seasons, and I think they can get better. Obviously, it's nowhere close to the greatness of the cartoon. Like that is untouchable. But you know, for what it is, I'm gonna put Netflix's live-action Avatar: The Last Airbender in C tier, like sort of upper C. Like, I don't know. I'm not making like separate like middle tiers. These aren't really in any like order or anything. But next up is season 3 of Star Wars: The Bad Batch. If you watched last year's video, you'll know that I thought very highly of season 2, and I still do. But I think season 3 is an improvement. I will say, The Bad Batch is probably my favorite thing to come out of Star Wars in this Disney Plus era. Like, a lot of the live-action shows have been kind of floundering. But, like, the animation has stayed pretty consistently good. Like, The Bad Batch, like, early on, it had kind of there was, like, a lot of filler, like, them doing, like, missions for Sid. But now that's not a thing anymore. Now, Season 3, it's, like, laser focused. Like it's like bam, 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 bam. Like every episode is decently important to the plot, even if some of them go off in strange directions. Like there's one where Ventress like comes back. Yeah, apparently she didn't die, and she like helps out the Batch and Omega with like this like sea monster thing. Okay, it's cool. Like Nico Futterman's still great as Ventress, but that's all we see of her. Like, so why bring her here at all? But anyway, obviously, I'm not really gonna spoil the plot, but like, so they really focus on like Omega and Crosshair like as a dynamic, and I think, and of course, it's always fun to see like the cheerful kid who go with the complaining grouch, like that's always a cute dynamic, but like they really like actually develop like a believable like connection. I mean, they are technically siblings, I guess. I mean, they're all clones. And, but the rest of the Batch still has their heads. Hunter and Echo and Wrecker. I don't know what I should say about Tech, because that's a big spoiler. It gets really intense by the end. Like, there's some... Like, by the end of the series, I was legitimately scared that about the fate of the characters, which, like, a lot of other shows haven't done. That show, that really goes to show just how invested I was in this story and these characters. I think I like this show more than Star Wars Rebels, and I am one of those who defends Rebels, because I know there's a lot of people who don't like it. I do, but I think Bad Batch in general is better. It's more focused. Like, I like all the characters. None of them were annoying to me, and we got to see Vice Admiral Rampart again and watch him get bullied for a lot of episodes. So that's always fun. Palpatine like shows up once. Cool. But yeah, that's it. That's like nice, and it is a very nice finale. I look forward to see what animated shows this team does next, because they are what is holding this franchise afloat alongside Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I'm gonna put this in A tier. I was very happy with this. So next up, another Star Wars animated show. This came out of nowhere. Star Wars Tales of the Empire. So a couple years ago, there was this thing called Star Wars Tales of the Jedi, which was sort of this mini-series with, like, sort of kind of connected stuff, like the stories of, like, Ahsoka Tano. I say that like she's, like, this unknown character. Everybody knows what Ahsoka is. And, more interestingly, Count Dooku. And Dooku was undoubtedly the more interesting one, because, like, we had never really got to see, like, his stuff. And, like, his turn was, like, made, like, quite believable. Like, considering, like, the Clone Wars unfortunately made Dooku kind of this very standard villain. It was nice to see him get nuance there, but it was cute. Out of nowhere, like on like April, I think, they announced this thing called Tales of the Empire, and like, oh, so it's like kind of like that, but like with the Empire. And half of it is focused on Morgan Elsbeth, one of the villains from The Mandalorian and the Ahsoka show, who, spoilers for Ahsoka, I guess, she died. The other half, though, that's what got my attention, and what's got a lot of people's attention. After 12 years of not showing up in anything, despite a lot of requests, Barriss Offee, the traitorous Jedi who betrayed Ahsoka and orchestrated the bombing of the Jedi Temple in Clone Wars Season 5, returns. And, like, her fate was kept in the dark for so long. Like Dave Filoni was kept saying, no, she's not dead. She's not dead. But, like, they just weren't doing anything. I thought the Ahsoka show would be, like, the perfect opportunity for, like, that, but no. But, hey, she's here, and she's the main character of her own story. That's really cool. Now, I may be biased, since I'm a huge Barriss fan. Like, she is one of my favorite characters from the Clone Wars. It's like because I don't care about Morgan Elsbeth. I'm sorry. I was watching this show for Barriss, and her episodes are quite good. But, like, the Morgan Elsbeth episodes are first. And, like, they're fine. They're fine. Like, we get to see, like, her backstory. She was a Night Sister at Dathomir. We get to see her escape the massacre that happened in the Clone Wars. You get to see General Grievous, like, really show off that his new character model. He looks cool as hell. One problem I had with Grievous in the Clone Wars is that he didn't seem very, like, intimidating. He didn't really get a lot of, like, wins and stuff. Like, even during that episode, like, he loses to Ventress, and he just gets the droids to like shoot at them, and his only like real kill was like against like that old crone who was like guarding the voodoo pot. But here he's like slaughtering them, and he puts up a really good fight against Morgan's mother, and just like kills her. Like, it's quite brutal. But then like Morgan gets found by like this other clan, but like her lust for vengeance like creates a schism in them, and they get found out by some remaining separatist forces. She goes to like join the Empire, and well, that's kind of where Mandalorian picks up. It's fine. Made me appreciate the character a little more, but I was here for Barriss. And this is, I'm gonna sound selfish. All 6 episodes should have been about her, because like what they're doing is not very nice, but they needed more of it to like really be convincing. Barriss was never really a villain, even though she was a terrorist. Like she had like decent intentions, even though she was definitely in denial about her own fall. One of the Inquisitors from the Obi-Wan show, to my knowledge, didn't get any lines. The 4th sister, one with like squid tentacles coming out of her head. She's like, the Jedi are no more. Barriss, you want to be an Inquisitor? And Barriss is like, what? She's very confused and obviously not happy about the downfall of the Jedi. It was like her thing was like she wanted them to sort of wake up. That was her sort of motivation behind her terrorist actions, which, that's just gonna get people to not listen to you. Oops. But whatever. So she becomes an Inquisitor. She goes on like, I think like one mission, and then she's like, I don't like this, and she bails. She's like, yeah, I don't think he's like, I'm not evil enough for this. So she decides to like turn her back, and she decides to become good again. They make a choice at the very end that I'm not really a fan of, because it once again puts her situation in ambiguity, and I'm like, I can't wait another 10 years to find out what happens to her. Basically, it's without spoiling too much, they make us think that she might be dead, but also might not be. Her voice actress Meredith Salinger says she's alive, but we haven't had any like confirmation. And it's really annoying, because there's a lot of Star Wars stuff where stuff that should kill them doesn't, and animation is great. I think this is probably the best looking animated Star Wars 3 Star Wars thing so far. I didn't know Barriss's hair was like tied back. Like every like bit of fan art I've seen of her, because like before here we've never seen her without her hood or her cowl. I always had like her hair just kind of like floof up like that normally. No, apparently it's like tied back. I don't know, she still looks really cute. Voice acting is fantastic across both Star Wars shows. I did mention this is the Bad Batch, but like considering D. Bradley Baker's every male clone, that is just amazing. Tales of the Empire, Meredith Salinger has not lost her touch at all. In the 12 years, she still has like the sweetest British voice ever. Did you know she's married to Patton Oswalt? Because I didn't until I looked at her Wikipedia page. I don't know, I just thought that was funny. Tales of the Empire is fine. I'd put it in C tier. It would have been B tier if they just sort of more fleshed out some of the stuff with Barriss's stuff, and honestly, if they just jettisoned Morgan Elsbeth and just make the whole thing about Barriss. I know, like, a lot of regular fans don't know who she is, but screw them. Next up is The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, Season 2. When this was airing, you were definitely hearing a lot about this, whether you wanted to or not. So, I don't know if I've said this in anything before, but I am a huge Lord of the Rings fan. I own all the books. And as well as some of the supplementary stuff. I think I own the letters. I own the Silmarillion. There's a bestiary that I have that I don't. None of this is with me. It's all downstairs. With some like cool art that like shows off all the species of like Tolkien's world. Movies are amazing. They are not perfect adaptations of the books. Like, if you're looking for like a direct adaptation of the books, you are not going to find them. But as films, like so much about them still impresses me to this day, both from a storytelling and from a filmmaking standpoint. They are, like, in terms of fantasy, the books and the films are the highest possible. I give them my highest recommendation to, like, anyone. They're long, but they earn their length, unlike the Hobbit films, which are not very good. Rings of Power Season 1, I did not like. I thought... Amazon, like, bought the rights to, like, the second age of Lord of the Rings, because for those who don't know, like, the Ages of the Sun, which is actually also a further, like, a later age, because there's ages of, like, the lamps, the trees, and the stars before the sun, with, like, the second age of the sun, which is what they have the rights to. But they don't have the rights to the Silmarillion, so they can't directly reference it. So yeah, the showrunners are kind of caught in this, like, weird thing, but, like... And so, like, I'm fine with some of the changes, but, like, what I don't like is just the... This is probably going to turn into a rant. I really do not like this show. Season 1, the biggest issue, by far, is just that nothing happens throughout most of it. Like, I get it. They're trying to set up this world. But there are so many characters and so many settings that, like, it just bloats up the runtime of every episode. And often, like, their characters don't even appear in, like, episodes. Like, we have to go for, like, multiple episodes without certain characters appearing. It's so slow and boring. That, to me, is far more offensive than any change they make to the lore. It is the most sluggish thing I think I've ever seen in my life. Production values are good. Looks quite nice. The outfits don't look like cosplay, which is a problem that some adaptations run into. Ray McCreary does a really good job on the music, even if it's, you know, obviously not Howard Shore level. Acting's fine. Like, I don't really have a problem with anybody. There's just barely anything happens. Like, the Forging of the Rings takes up, like, 10 minutes, and the last episode of the first season, you know, the thing the show is named after. And, like, Jesus. They're so focused on, we give you this mystery of who's Sauron, when it was pretty obvious who it was from the first time we see him. Season 2 is better, because stuff actually happens in it. It is still not good. There's still so much dragging out of events. Like, one of the main things is Sauron coming to Eregion, the big elf kingdom, disguised as Anatar, the Lord of Gifts, and he takes advantage of Celebrimbor, the Elvensmith's pride, to, like, get him to, like, forge rings. Again, I'm not really going to go into any changes of the lore, because, like, the general audience does not care. Although some of them did bother me. But anyway. So, they've already made the 3 rings for the elves. So now Anatar's like, hey, why don't we make rings for the dwarves and the men? And Celebrimbor's like, I don't know, that sounds kinda not a good idea. And Sauron, like, is, like, gaslighting them. I think the dynamic between Sauron and Celebrimbor is the best part of this show. Like, Charlie Vickers and Charles Edwards, two Charleses, they have quite a good, like, dynamic going through with them, like, especially because, like, if you go from, like, Charlie Vickers' like human disguise, Halbrand, going to Anatar, it is shocking. Like the difference in, like, the cadence, the accent, the stuff. He's quite a good actor. I hope to see him in much better things than this. But yeah, but then, like, the other stuff, it's, like, centered, like, they dragged out the creating the Rings of Men for so long. Like, they dragged it out for, like, 4 episodes, I think, and, like, he only finishes making them during the big battle. And it's just infuriating. Especially when a lot of the other stuff isn't very compelling at all. I guess the other thing that I kind of like in the show is the Numenor storyline. So the Numenorians, for those who don't know, are, like, this, like, group of, like, more advanced civilization. They live on a star-shaped island in the middle of the ocean. They just got back from helping these lesser people, the Southlanders, drive off an army of orcs. The king died, and so, like, they have to like choose, the people have to choose like between like the king's daughter Muriel and like the big man of the people Farazan, who Farazan is of course trying to usurp the throne. And so like once he gets in power, like they start like persecuting like Muriel's supporters, and like they call them the faithful because like they like believe in like the sort of like the gods like of their world, the Valar. It's not quite like that, but it's the simplest explanation I can think of. That's kind of interesting. Elendil, who people know as the guy who fought Sauron and died in the prologue to Fellowship of the Ring. In the book lore, he and Elf King Gil-galad, who is also in this show, actually defeat Sauron, but they die doing so. And then Isildur just takes the sword and cuts off the ring from Sauron's hand. In the movie, it's changed to be more climactic. But anyway, like he's obviously like, this whole stuff is nonsense. Like I'm going to like, I'm doing what's right, and like thank goodness. It is nice to have like an actually like genuinely heroic character in like such a cynical, mean world as this, because like every character in this, so many of these characters in this movie are jerks. Like so many characters in this show are just like really annoying and awful, and it's just nice to see like nice people. It's like, but then there's also the hobbits. Yeah, there are hobbits in the show, even though they're, again, this is lore whining, I know, but like they're not supposed to be here until like the Third Age. Whatever. I guess Amazon did think that people wouldn't see a Middle-earth thing if there weren't hobbits here. Whatever. But like the hobbits are like the most useless part of the show. They don't contribute anything to the plot. They're traveling with a wizard who is very obviously Gandalf, who again is also not supposed to be here at this time. Okay, that's enough fanboy whining. And they drag out that reveal forever too. Like he shows up in the first episode of season 1. It takes until the last episode of season 2 for them to say, "Oh, it's Gandalf." He comes across Tom Bombadil, and he's cool. It's the first time he's ever been in an on-screen adaptation. But like the hobbits are so useless. Like they don't do anything. There is nothing. I don't even. But like that's the thing. Like there are so many characters here, and like it is so hard to get a balance for like everyone here. People are constantly taken out of focus. Plot lines are dropped and brought back up, and like it is so annoying. Like hold on, I'm going to like list all like the main characters like as Wikipedia lists them. So we have Sauron and Galadriel and Elrond and Gil-galad and the Stranger, Gandalf, and the Dark Wizard, who is probably Saruman, and Nori and Poppy, the Hobbits, and Celebrimbor, and Disa and Durin the Fourth and Durin the Third, the Dwarves, and Elendil, and Isildur, and Farazan, and Muriel, and Arondir, and Theo. That's like 18 characters. And that's just the main ones. The elves, they're just kind of doing elf things. Like, they're like, should we use the rings? And then when they see the rings bringing life back to their stuff, like, okay, we'll use the rings now. Wow. Much conflict. Yeah, this show is not good at all. It's not the worst. Like, to be an F tier, you have to be completely incompetent, but I guess there's like going to be 5 seasons apparently. I don't know if they're going to make it that far because interest seems to be dropping off pretty quickly. It's about $1 billion to make this. Jesus. Yeah, this is going in D tier. I did not like this at all. Okay, so I have the Simpsons seasons 35 and 36 on here. I didn't watch all of them. I watched some episodes from them both. So I'm not gonna rank them because I haven't seen every episode from those seasons. So I'm just gonna talk about the ones that I have seen. I obviously watched the Treehouse of Horror. The Treehouse of Horror 34, which aired in season 35 because some numbers work. The first segment is about Bart turning into an NFT, and Marge has to enter sort of like this digital train thing to like help him out. Yeah, NFT, the market's crashed, but like to be fair, they do like lampshade how useless NFTs are, even though Disney has made Simpsons NFTs. It's fine. The middle segment is the best. It's 8. With there's an 8 in place of the G. It's a parody, like the title's a parody of 7, that show. And this is actually really interesting because this is actually a sort of an alternate continuity, like where at the end of Cape Fear, you remember that episode where like Bart is like distracting Sideshow Bob by like making him sing the entire score of the HMS Pinafore. Absolute classic. But here, in this part, it's like Sideshow Bob realizes he's been tricked, and so he just decides to just go kill Bart. And Lisa, who saw it through the window, is like traumatized, and she grows up to become a teacher on criminal psychology. And then like Nelson like brings her in for a case because there's a series of killings where like all the victims are the oldest child in their family. Of course, the twist is that Lisa was the killer. But like it is like this is probably the goriest, darkest Treehouse of Horror like ever. Like it's quite good. Like the previous year's Treehouse of Horror was probably the best in a long time. But like this is easily the best one. And the third segment, Lout Break, is meh. Homer eats a radioactive donut, and his burps turn everyone into versions of himself. That's kind of it. Perfectly fine Treehouse of Horror. Not one of the best, not one of the worst. Did I watch anything else in season 35? Oh yes. This one made headlines. Cremains of the Day. So you remember Larry the Barfly? Yeah, he died. So yeah, one of those background like barflies at Moe's Tavern dies. And the start of this is actually quite nice because like Homer and Moe and Lenny and Carl, of course Barney's not here because screw Barney, I guess. They're like, oh, we didn't really know him at all, despite the fact that they spent so much time at the bar there. And so they're like, you know what, we'll like scatter his ashes at a waterfall that he drew in a scrapbook. Unfortunately, the rest of the episode kind of turns into another like scheming thing between the group, and like it sort of loses focus on what they're doing. But it was a fine effort, even if it didn't completely hit the mark it wanted to. This one actually had fewer episodes than usual because of the writer strikes that happened the previous year. Season 36 is currently going on, but I did catch a couple. Like, the premiere is another, like, what the heck one, Bart's Birthday, where Conan O'Brien, who actually just hosted the Oscars, he's like, oh, this is the Simpsons series finale, and we're using, we're going to generate it with an AI machine called Hack GPT, which, that's pretty funny. So it's like, Bart turns 11, and it's basically just a combination of, like, all these, like, fan thought ideas for like an ending, like obviously, it'll end when like Bart finally ages and he turns 11, which is funny because there was a Treehouse of Horror segment where Lisa turns 9, but that one just kills her over and over and over again. It's just caught in a time loop. But like, yeah, Springfield is like changing around, like, and they do like these other like parodies of like other finales, like Principal Skinner's leaving to go like to Sacramento with Groundskeeper Willie, obviously like kind of setting up a spin-off show about them. Moe's Tavern closes, like a lot of the places close actually, like Krusty the Clown ends his show. A lot of people get married, including I think Miss Hoover and not comic book guy, Miss Hoover and Duffman, which was actually set up before, or did she marry Disco Stu? I don't remember. And then of course like Bart like somehow gains awareness of the fact that this is a show, and he like sort of like messes with everything until like everything goes back to the way it was. I don't know, I thought it was cute. Last year's Treehouse of Horror number 35. We're at 35 of these things. This show is never gonna end. I didn't like it as much as the last one. This is a pretty meh Treehouse of Horror. Like the first one is like Bart and Lisa like trying to arguing about stuff, and then like the political divisiveness in the US turns into two giant monsters. That I thought some of the visual gags were funny, but like this is such a hammer on the head. Like it's not subtle at all, and it ends with Springfield just being destroyed, of course. The second one is we have the Fall of the House of Monty, obviously upon the Fall of the House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe. Although the plot isn't anything like that. So it's like Mr. Burns kills all of his employees at his corn syrup factory, because those exist, I guess, and they all come back as ghosts and get revenge on him. So it's more like a Christmas Carol, albeit Burns, of course, doesn't learn anything, and then he dies. And then there's Denim, which has cool stop motion animation, because like it's like Venom, but he's a pair of pants. Unfortunately, like the stop motion is really cool, but unfortunately I didn't find it very funny. And I know there was like a second one, but I didn't catch that. I'll have to watch it when it comes to like Disney Plus or something. There's also like another one called Women in Shorts, which is kind of a spiritual successor to 22 short films about Springfield. Sort of about like a lot of the ladies here. Neat. Again, I'm not gonna rank this one. Like I didn't see everything, so like how could I? I will say, apparently, like this is actually the this season has the final voice acting performance from a longtime voice actress Pamela Hayden, you know, the voice of Milhouse, among others. And yeah, she's retiring. Like this season will be her last. So I imagine that means Milhouse is gonna get recast. I don't know if they're gonna. I don't know who they're going to like do it for. Oh yeah, she's Jimbo Jones. I forgot. I don't know who's gonna like take over for. I know like Gray Delisle like took over for like Martin Prince and a few others after Rusty Taylor passed away. Maybe she could do it. I don't know. Or maybe they could get someone else. But yeah, like that is sort of the thing with how long this show's going on. Like more and more people are gonna retire or die. And like Julie Kavner's voice has been going for a while. Dan Castellaneta's voice is starting to go too, as is Harry Shearer's. You're gonna need to do something. Alright then, that's all the old shows I watched. I guess the new shows that I watched. Go on to some of the old shows, and there's only 2 of them. But I have quite a bit to say on this one. One that I honestly can't believe I haven't watched up until now is Frasier. Yeah, you remember Frasier, right? Like this sort of spin-off from Cheers. I don't really watch sitcoms. Like they just aren't all that funny to me. But like watching Frasier, I'm like, okay, I see what I was missing. Like witty, like upper class banter is clearly what these other things have been missing. Like Frasier is really, really good. Like really funny. I'm tempted to say this is now one of my favorite shows, and I've only watched like the first season and like a few episodes into the second season. Like the banter between all the characters is just so like the main cast of characters. You have Kelsey Grammer as Frasier, and David Hyde Pierce is his brother Niles, and John Mahoney is their father Martin. Jane Leaves is their sort of the house caretaker. Daphne, with like just the best sort of like Manchester accent. That is a horrible impression of it. She's just really fun to listen to. And Perry Gilpin is sort of like Frasier's assistant Roz. They are really fun. Like every one is really fun. Like I haven't found an episode I've disliked at all. Like it's just fun. Like even when it's not as being super funny, like it's just the characters are just super likable. Like I think my favorite episode so far is the one where Frasier gets like really sick, and he in his delirium he starts like worrying that other people, including like the food critic and later Niles, are trying to like take over his show. And so, like, obviously madness ensues, and it's great. Yeah, I don't really have much to say on Frasier. It's just really fun. I'm definitely gonna watch the rest of the show. I know people say like it dips in the later seasons. Of course it does. But like, I still want to watch the whole thing. Frasier's so fun. I'm gonna put Frasier in S tier. Like, I know I should probably like watch the whole series before putting like a grade in it, but like, I loved what I saw so much. I'm putting this in S tier. And then something that is on the surface has nothing to do with Frasier, but like somehow does. Hercules the animated series. Yeah, we all know Disney's Hercules, right? You know, the one with Tate Donovan is this like action hero Hercules. It's like trying to like, it's sort of like a weird fusion between a Rocky story and a Superman story. Movie's alright. I like it, but like I don't think it's like all that great. Hercules the animated series, ironically, I think I like it more than the movie. Like, it's nothing special. It's not anything super special, but it is kind of like an animated show for kids set in the Greek world. But like, what makes this like cool for me anyway, because like they put in tons of stuff from like the mythology. Like not all of it's accurate. Some of them are intentional swerves, and some of them are just wrong. But like, I mean, they have to stick with the continuity. So Hades has to be the villain. But hey, that's Hades is like the best part of the Hercules movie, so I'm all for it. I think almost the entire voice cast, like, from the movie returns, except Danny DeVito. So yeah, Phil is now voiced by, hold on, I'm pulling up the Wikipedia article, Robert Costanzo. Because it's funny because, like, Jason Alexander is in the show, and he plays, you know, George Costanza. I don't know where it goes. But yeah, it's still Tate Donovan as Hercules. It's still James Woods as Hades. Really, really fun. But because like this takes place in like that sort of time skip period before Hercules met Meg and when he's training to be a hero, they kind of have to do a bunch of new characters. So in comes like, so Hercules has to go to school. I don't know if ancient Greeks had school. So this is where we bring in a lot of other mythological characters. So we have Icarus, you know, the kid who like flew too close to the sun with wax wings and died because of it. Apparently he didn't die, he just lost his mind or something. He's voiced by French Stewart, and he's a weirder. He's weird. Like, I can see a lot of people hating him because like some of his antics are really obnoxious. It's fine. And then there's Cassandra, you know, the Trojan prophet, who like is fated to like never be believed by anyone. In the myth, she meets a really painful end. But here she's sort of the grumpy one who like, I don't know, it's a cute dynamic. Like, the advantage of like this setting being in a series than a movie is that like we get to see like all of the gods like do stuff, because in the movie it was just Hades, Zeus, and I guess Hermes. But like here, like there's like the gods show up all of the time, like Ares, Athena, Aphrodite, Hephaestus, Bacchus, even though the Greek name is Dionysus, Apollo, Artemis. Like, they all get at least one episode in the spotlights. There's a bunch of heroes, you know, you can see Jason, and Theseus, and Perseus is in here, I think. Achilles, and all the classic monsters are here. And they go over a lot of stuff, like, they go over, like Medusa, and the story of Prometheus, which you'd think a kid's show would would like tone down the whole being chained to a rock and having an eagle cut out his liver. There's an entire song and dance number dedicated to it, and they don't sugarcoat it at all. Like all that we don't see is the eagle physically pull the liver out. Like, we see it in its mouth, and he's eating it with onions. and Prometheus is just so offended by it. It's fun. It's really fun. Honestly, like, the most surprising thing about the show is just all the guest stars they have in it, which is really funny because, like, clearly most of the budget went to them because the animation is not good at all. The animation is the worst part of it, but, like, there are so many, like, guest stars here. Like, it is honestly insane. I'm going down the list on Wikipedia here. We got, like, Keith David is Apollo, Paul Schaefer's Hermes returning from the movie, Lisa Kudrow, Phoebe from Friends is Aphrodite, Reba McEntire is Artemis, Dom DeLuise is Bacchus, Tom Arnold is Cupid, Florence Henderson is Demeter, Betty White is Hestia, Kevin Michael Richardson is Hephaestus, Linda Hamilton is Nemesis, and she can turn her arms into, like, weapons because they really want to go on all the Terminator stuff. Jason Alexander, as I mentioned, he's Poseidon, Ben Stein, Carl Reiner. Oh yeah, Eric Idle from Monty Python, he's the principal, Mr. Parenthesis. Richard Simmons is Fizz Oedipus. Oh, I forgot to mention, like, there are other, like, classmates at, like, the school. Like, there's Helen of Troy, Jodie Benson, funny enough, Ariel. She's fine. But, like, the best part is Adonis, who is, like, super... He's like, super narcissistic. He's like that bully trope. He's, like, narcissistic, but he's actually a big coward. And, like, he's probably my favorite part of the show next to Hades. He's so funny. And, like, I kind of wish he was, like, more on Hercules' like, regulars, like, instead of Icarus. But yeah, as I was saying with, like, Mandy Patinkin. But yeah, Inigo Montoya is Hippocrates. Ed Asner, Jim Belushi, William Shatner is Jason, Patrick Warburton is Agamemnon, Rob Paulson, Cary Elwes, Wesley, Dread Pirate Roberts is Paris. That is like perfect. Wayne Knight's here. Idina Menzel, pre-Wicked, is Circe. Jennifer Aniston, Dan Castellaneta, Tom Kenny and Bill Fagerbakke, pre-SpongeBob, are both here. Like that is just wild. They do a crossover with the Norse gods, and Vince Vaughn is Loki, and that's like perfect. Sort of being sort of this not Hades. But yeah, I was talking about Frasier before, and the main reason I kind of wanted to talk about this was because for some reason 3/5 of the cast of Frasier is here. David Hyde Pierce is Daedalus, and like for being this like fast talking smart guy, that's like perfect. Jane Leeves is Athena. It is absolutely not the voice I would expect to come out of that character, but she is hilarious, especially when she has to play off of Ares, and they like hate each other. They're both like really childish, and it's really fun taking the characters. And then Perry Gilpin is Hecate, who is trying to take over the underworld from Hades, and that's really fun. Like there's so many like really fun episodes here. Like Disney Plus, like before they were on Disney Plus, they were actually not released. Like they weren't like put out like physically. Like there's like a VHS that has like 3 episodes, but like that's it. So it's really cool that like, so for a while they were considered like kind of lost media, but now they're here and you can watch them, and it's really fun. I really recommend it if you're a fan of the movie. Granted, you do have to ignore the big plot hole that like, how does Hades know that Hercules is alive? But you know what? I don't care. It's really fun. Granted, like I'm gushing about this so much, you probably think I'm going to put it in S tier. No, it's like I said, it's nothing special. Like it's really fun, but like it's nothing great. I'm going to put it in B tier, but I do really want you to check it out. All right, guys, I'll talk about movies next. I only saw 3 new ones this year, so you know what? I'll just go with them. Alright, so the first one, I didn't see this in theaters. Deadpool and Wolverine. Now, this may shock you, I've actually never seen a Deadpool movie. Or a Wolverine movie. I think the only, like, one of those Fox Marvel films I've ever seen is X-Men First Class, which I do really like. I actually rewatched it, like, a few days ago, and yeah, it still holds up. But, like, Deadpool Wolverine, you know, for someone who hasn't seen the previous ones, like, I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. Surprising, it had way more heart in it than I was expecting from such an irreverent character like Deadpool. But yeah, the fourth wall breaking humor, it's gonna be either your thing or not. I kind of like it. I don't really like. There's so many cameos, but like the cameos aren't, for the most part, they aren't just, hey, look, it's such and such. Isn't it cool that they're here? Like they do play a role. I don't know if I want to spoil them, because like there are so many people who like were like super surprised. I'm gonna spoil one. Like Chris Evans shows up at one point, and of course, like Deadpool thinks he's Captain America, and like he's gonna say it, and then Chris Evans yells, "Flame on!" And it turns out it's Johnny Storm from that terrible Fantastic Four movie from 2005. That was funny, and then he dies. But yeah, I liked Wolverine's arc. Again, I've never watched any of the Wolverine movies. I know Logan was like amazing apparently, but like I haven't seen it. They did like address like, how are we supposed to follow that up? And like, it's so disrespectful that it is hilarious. It is really funny. Like, the MCU is not in a very good place right now. I didn't like Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I really liked Guardians 3, but like that is very clearly like its own thing. I didn't watch the Marvels. I have no desire to. And that new Captain America movie is apparently also not good at all. So it's nice to have something like actually like really fun and like funny and like with some heart in it. I'm not sure where to put this. I don't know if I'm gonna put it in B tier or A tier. Well, you'll see on my screenshot where I eventually placed it. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Next up, something I did watch in theaters, Sonic the Hedgehog 3. I already talked about this before in my Year of Shadow video, so I won't spend too much long on it, but this is the best video game movie like I've ever seen, and I've seen most of them. It's not a high bar. Most video game movies are completely awful, garbage. I didn't watch the Borderlands movie from last year. I heard that is like bottom of the barrel crap. But yeah, Sonic 3, very good. Like, it's, I wouldn't call it a great movie, but like, it is very good. They finally figured out a pacing that really fits. The human characters, while still serving a purpose, aren't in it much. Shadow is probably the best part here. Like, there's a real like weight to him, and like Keanu Reeves is actually trying. This isn't just a celebrity cast for the sake of being a celebrity. Like, he actually does put in a lot of effort, like, to make him like sound different from like John Wick and Neo. Like, make him his own thing, but still give him a lot of pathos. 2 Jim Carreys. He's both Dr. Eggman, well, Dr. Robotnik, and Professor Gerald Robotnik. And this is fun. They take every opportunity they can to like have them like touch and rub up against each other, just so that the effect of like 2 Jim Carreys like interacting with each other, like they can have the most fun with it. Live and Learn plays in the finale. That's really cool. Wish there were more Sonic music. They play Dr. Eggman's Sonic 06 theme when this Eclipse cannon rises out of the ocean. That's cool. The set pieces are the best. The Sonic and Shadow fight is like something out of Dragon Ball. Like, holy crap. It's way better than Dragon Ball movie than Dragon Ball Evolution. Like, overall, I really liked it. I'm going to put it in B tier, I think. Yeah, I think Deadpool and Wolverine is objectively the better film. I do really enjoy Sonic 3. I'm very much looking forward to Sonic 4. Next. Alright, we're back with more Lord of the Rings, because they actually made an anime film called Lord of the Rings War of the Rohirrim. And this one's kind of a mixed bag. It is most certainly better than Rings of Power, but I didn't like love it or anything. So this is based on something from the lore. This is actually apparently in the Peter Jackson movie verse, which is interesting. I know Peter Jackson is coming back to do like to help out with like a Lord of the Rings Gollum movie, which Andy Serkis is directing and starring in. And Ian McKellen is apparently coming back as Gandalf. He's in his 80s. I don't know how that's gonna work. But yeah, this is set in that universe. It's like an anime film, which is interesting. The character designs are very nice. The animation is very pretty, except when it isn't, which is unfortunately a lot. Like, it's like half looks really good and half looks really cheap. And unfortunately, that also kind of goes with the writing. Like, sometimes it's very good, and sometimes it's just like, what are we doing here? The best part is undoubtedly Helm Hammerhand, which is like great. It's Brian Cox. He does a really good job in the role. He's super cool. There's like some really good action scenes, but like for some reason, it decides to focus on like a bunch of made up characters. Okay, they're not made up. They were just unnamed because they're only talked about in like the appendices or something. So Helm Hammerhand had a daughter and 2 sons, and their names in here. The daughter's name is Hera. I forgot what the son's name was, but for some reason they decided to make Hera the main character, and she's like apparently the first part is like sort of like she's at an arranged marriage to this other guy, this like rival chief guy named Wolf, and Wolf gets like spurned, and he like Helm like punches him in the face or something. No, Helm kills his father, and so Wolf swears revenge. And so like the rest of the movie is sort of like Wolf like chasing down like Helm and like his people, and like they're the people of Rohan. This is sort of like an origin for like some of the stuff at Rohan. And it's like Helm like fends off a lot of the army by himself. He dies like standing up, frozen. And that place where they fight is called Helm's. That's the origin of Helm's Deep. Overall, this movie was like fine. As you can tell from my scattered thoughts, I don't really remember a lot of it, despite having only watched it a few months ago. I'm putting it in C tier. And yeah, that's all the new movies. So the rest of this is old movies, which thankfully there's a lot of. I'm just gonna go down the list. This is sort of in a no particular order. So first up is Batman, the first one. Yeah, somehow I'd gone this far in life without watching the original 1989 Batman film, the one by Tim Burton. And yeah, this one's great. Michael Keaton is, I remember there was a lot of controversy when Michael Keaton was cast. They're like, really? Him? He's Batman? But no, it turns out to be really great. I mean, granted, I know one criticism that people have is that it spends debatably more time on the Joker, Jack Nicholson, than Batman. I don't care. I really liked Jack Nicholson's Joker. But yeah, I think the setting of Gotham that Tim Burton made, like this very like gothic look, this is like one of my favorite. This might be my favorite interpretation of Gotham, like in live action. I really like the one in the Dark Knight movies, but like I don't know, I think this one's cooler. It's sneakily really funny too. Like obviously, like Jack Nicholson as the Joker provides a lot of laughs, but like honestly, even Batman's kind of like has a lot of fun like bits to him. Oh yeah, Billy D. Williams is Two-Face. He's not Two-Face yet, he's just Harvey Dent. Which makes me even more annoyed that Tommy Lee Jones took over for him in Batman Forever. And somehow I watched Batman Forever and Batman and Robin before the original Batman. I still haven't seen Batman Returns. I was meaning to get to it, but I haven't yet. Yeah, I really liked Batman and the Tim Burton Batman. I'm gonna put it in A tier. Which, funny enough, followed up with The Batman, the newest one from 2022. Yeah, Robert Pattinson. Everyone made jokes because he was in Twilight. He's also Cedric Diggory in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. He's actually like really good. Like, we get to see like I think this is actually the most Batman we see in a Batman movie, because like infamously, like a lot of these movies, he's Bruce Wayne a lot more than he's Batman, like including the Tim Burton one. But here, like, he is in his Batman suit almost all the time. That's really neat. Andy Serkis is Alfred. I would have not expected that, but like he's actually really good Alfred. It's so nice to see Andy Serkis as like a full good guy, like, since, you know, we all know him as Gollum and I guess Claw. I know he's Caesar in the Rise of the Planet of the Apes films, but even then he's not a nice character there. They somehow managed to make the Riddler like one of the most laughable villains in Batman to me. Like, he's actually quite intimidating. He's actually a threat. Yeah, Jeffrey Wright is Commissioner Gordon. Honestly, might be my favorite Commissioner Gordon now. I think I might like him better than Gary Oldman in the Dark Knight films. But yeah, this is another one I really like. The atmosphere is amazing. I really like the action set pieces. This and Batman 1989 are probably tied for being my second favorite after The Dark Knight. So I'm putting this in A tier. Dark Knight would be an S tier, but like, I watched that already. Something I haven't watched is Alien, the original. I've actually never seen an Alien movie before, and this was fantastic. Like, a lot of horror films, like, I don't really like a lot of horror films because, like, I don't find them all that horrifying. Like, they're just sort of boring in my opinion. But like, Alien is like, this is like Jaws level suspense. I think one thing it does really well is that you don't immediately know that Ripley is the main character. Like, I mean, of course, everybody who goes into the franchise now knows that, but like, it's not immediately obvious when you're watching the movie for the first time. So like, they sort of like whittle down the party. Like that scene where John Hurt gets the chest burster. I mean, they only had one take to do that. Like, it had to like look good, and thankfully it did look quite good. The design of the xenomorph, the design of the xenomorph is fantastic. It actually is quite suspenseful, and like, I think most importantly for like something like this, I gave a crap about the characters. So many, like, Nightmare on Elm Street was probably my favorite horror film prior to seeing this, but even then, I didn't care about the characters there. I was just hoping Freddy Krueger was gonna kill them. But here, like, I didn't want to see these people die. Sigourney Weaver is fantastic as Ripley. Ian Holm, I was surprised that he was in this movie at all. I didn't know he was here. He's great as Ash. The effect when This is like a 45-year-old movie. The effect when Ash gets sort of destroyed, and like, but he still has to talk. That looks incredible. Like, that is just wild that they got that to look that good. This is fantastic. I am definitely looking forward to watching Aliens. Not looking forward to watching the rest of them, although I've heard Romulus is actually good. But yeah, this is going in S tier. Wonderful time, highly recommended if you haven't seen it. Going complete total shift. The next one up here is the Aristocats. It's alright. This was actually like the first Disney movie to be like mostly made without Walt, because like Walt passed away in '66. And initially they weren't really sure like if they could even continue, but then like decided, yeah, let's make the Aristocats anyway. Like, because like, it was something that Walt really wanted to do. And it did well enough that they were able to keep going. So I am obligated to like give the Aristocats a hat tip. Even though it's like just kind of meh, it's an okay movie. Like, the cats are obviously cute-ish. I don't like the little girl cat's bow in the hair. I never like that look. O'Malley, the orange cat, I just call him Baloo because it's the same voice. He's fun. He's a likable guy. Edgar, the butler, sucks. He's one of Disney's worst villains. I don't hate him or anything, but he's just so laughably useless. And it's kind of funny. There's some amusing scenes with like two dogs that try to like have some fun slapstick on him. It's alright, they don't come anywhere close to the slapstick of like 101 Dalmatians or the Jungle Book. There's that scene where O'Malley's friends play the song with that incredibly racist looking Chinese cat who has like that hat, the triangle hat thing, and buck teeth, and he's playing the piano with chopsticks. I mean, yeah, the whole thing is stereotypes. There's a Russian cat, and there's a Jamaican cat, I think. I think there's an Italian one? I don't remember. But like, you know, obviously it's sort of like how weird all this looks to like these high-class cats. The song is fun. The songs are generally alright. But yeah, it's a fine movie. I'll put it in C tier. The next movie on the list is Fantasia 2000. And, in fact, this is actually, aside from Moana 2, which hasn't come to streaming yet, this is the last Disney movie that I had never seen before. This and the Aristocats. And I don't know why it took me this long to watch, because, like, Fantasia, I'm one of those who thinks the original Fantasia is a masterpiece. Like, that might be, like, the Disney Studios' best work, period. Like, I love that. I know some people might find it boring, how it doesn't have, like, a coherent plot structure. I don't care. I love every second of it. I guess maybe I was scared that they'd, like, screw it up, but, like, I watched a lot of really bad, all of Disney's worst movies, like Chicken Little and Pocahontas and Wish before Fantasia 2000. Like, it was never going to be as bad as those. I watched it and I'm like, huh, this is actually really good. It is not as good as the original. But, like, I've seen a lot of people say that they don't really like this one all that much. I'm like, the people who, like, love the original don't really like this one. And I'm like, I don't know why. I get it. There's some goofier stuff here. And it was, like, overall, the segments are not quite as memorable on average as the original. But I thought this was great. Like, in terms of animation, there is so much more variety. And it's so colorful. And I guess I'll just go over the individual segments. Like, it starts off, you know how, like, the first movie started off with Toccata and Fugu in D minor. You know, and this one starts off with Beethoven's Fifth. They're both, like, abstract art pieces with, you know, some of the most overplayed classical music of all time. It's very pretty. It's like a lot of, like, triangles of butterflies that explode out of a volcano. It's wild. It's not as good as the more somber stuff of Toccata and Fugu, but it's nice. You have the Pines of Rome, which somehow Disney decided, let's make this about flying whales. Okay, but like, this is definitely the one they wanted you to watch in IMAX. Like, I don't really want to go watch stuff in IMAX much, but like, this is one of the ones that if it ever gets re-released there, I will go see it. Because this is such a grand scale, and like, this is one of the only ones that uses like CG. Because like, this movie like sort of blends hand drawn and CG stuff. very nicely. Like, but like the art style, the way the whales are like drawn and textured and stuff, keeps this movie from aging as badly as a lot of CG stuff from this era did. This and I think the Steadfast Tin Soldier are the only ones that use 3D, but like the stylization, the painterly look they have is these segments are never going to age. It's so grand. Like this, of course, this cute part with a little baby whale like getting stuck in the iceberg. They come out, then these whales all take up as the music really picks up. It is like it is goosebumps like throughout the whole last part, especially as they fly into, I guess, heaven. I guess all the whales like die. I guess they all fly to heaven. That's kind of sad. But like it is like so visually impressive. Like, you know, like this is the kind of stuff that I want to see more from like animated movies. I want to see more like big spectacle. Like How to Train Your Dragon is like the only thing that off the top of my head that like does this anymore. Because like so much of this is just, it's got to be like a family comedy. But, like next up is Rhapsody in Blue. I was not expecting this at all. This is in like a I don't remember the artist, but like the song is by George Gershwin. Al Hirschfeld's caricatures. Like, you've absolutely seen something that looks like this before. And it's sort of a story piece, but like, the music's nice because like it's a fusion of orchestra and jazz, which none of the others do. And it's got like 4 characters. We have like Duke, the construction worker who wants to be a drummer. Joe, the unemployed guy who just wants a job. Rachel, the little girl who is like constantly being shuffled around by like her nanny who just wants to spend time with her parents. And John, the who is like a husband to like this like nagging rich wife who just wants to buy stuff for their dog, and he just wants a simpler life. There's no dialogue here at all because it's Fantasia. But like you get everything what these characters are and what they want. And, you know, obviously they get what they want in the end, and it's so nice. Like, the animation style is wonderful. I wish Disney could experiment like this more often with their animation. Like, the music's wonderful. It's just a great thing. This is easily one of the highlights of the segment. Next up is, okay, the official title of this is Piano Concerto No. 2, Allegro Opus 102. But everyone just calls it the Steadfast Tin Soldier because that's what the fairy tale is called. Does not follow the story of the fairy tale because the fairy tale in typical Hans Christian Andersen style doesn't end well. But here is like a broken toy soldier with one leg, and he meets a toy ballerina, and they fall in love. And there's an evil Jack in the Box, and you know it's another CG one that is like sort of painterly looks, and it looks very nice. We'll say I don't really remember the music off the top of my head. It's like fine. This is like one of the lesser ones in my opinion, but it is still good. Every segment in both Fantasias is good at worst. And the next one is Carnival of the Animals, which is the only one that I was kind of really disappointed by, because it's only the finale of that. I understand the whole thing is more of a Peter and the Wolf style thing, where it's like music stuff and then like someone talks, and music, someone talks. So they can't really do that. But it's only the finale, and it's 2 minutes long. It's about they have like a bunch of flamingos, and there's one who wants to play with a yo-yo, and the others are like, oh, I don't like that, so sort of chasing around. It's entertaining. I still liked it. And it's all entirely directed and animated by one guy, Eric Goldberg, and that's impressive that he did all of this. But it is my least favorite segment in both films. They have a reprise of The Sorcerer's Apprentice. And then which moves on into Pomp and Circumstance. You know, that graduation song. But it's a Noah's Ark story starring Donald Duck, and Sorcerer's Apprentice had starred Mickey Mouse. It's basically Donald is ordering the animals onto the Ark, but the giant wave comes. I don't remember that being part of the story. And like Daisy is obviously going on the Ark too, but they miss each other, and they each think that the other one died in the wave, but obviously they didn't. And like when the water goes away, they find each other. It's cute. Music's very nice, especially toward the end when it gets all like grand and stuff. And then, just like the original Fantasia, they save the best for last. The Firebird Suite. Doesn't follow the story at all. Again, like in the original like ballet, the Firebird is a helpful spirit. Here the Firebird is malicious, but like whatever. I'm gonna say it. The Firebird suite is the best, prettiest looking, most beautifully animated thing Disney has ever done. And apparently it was like mostly hand drawn. Like, that is bonkers. Like, we have this little woodland sprite who is like accompanied by an elk, and she goes through like a volcano, and that's when she awakens the Firebird, and the Firebird like goes through all of this, like just tears through everything. And this was inspired by the eruption of Mount St. Helens. The Firebird destroys the land and almost kills the sprite, and then just leaves because, like, I don't know, lava. It's made of lava. It is so well animated. It is so crazy. Like, he's honestly more terrifying than Chernobog. Like, that is extremely high praise. But, you know, the little sprite lives, and the elk, like, helps her out. And her tears, like, cause plants to grow. And she, like, restores the forest to its normal state. She turns the volcano all green. And it is beautiful. It is powerful. Like, it is the best part of the film, and one of the best things Disney has ever done. So yeah, I really liked Fantasia 2000. One criticism that I have that is shared is that, so in the original Fantasia, each segment was introduced by Deems Taylor, and sort of like giving like, okay, this is what this thing is about. This is why we chose to do this. Here, like, each segment is opened by a different guest star, and they get really distracting sometimes, because they often just try to be funny, and they go on too long. So Steve Martin introduces Pines of Rome, Bette Midler introduces the Steadfast Tin Soldier, James Earl Jones, rest in peace, does Carnival of the Animals, Penn and Teller, for some reason, do the Sorcerer's Apprentice. I like Penn and Teller a lot, but their segment went on too long. There was a cute thing where, Mickey Mouse goes to find Donald in between Sorcerer's Apprentice and Pomp and Circumstance. So it was cute. But like, it's especially weird that they go on so long, because this movie's only 75 minutes, whereas the original Fantasia was over 2 hours. That is so strange. But whatever. I really liked it. I'm putting this in A tier. I don't care what anybody says. This is one of the. I don't think it's not a top 10 Disney movie for me, but like, it's very close to being a top 10. Like, I really liked it, and like, if you haven't seen it, if you think like they can't do it justice, they can. Go watch it. You have to. It's worth it. Unfortunately, things now take a big tumble downhill, because next up is Green Lantern. It was on Netflix, so it's just like, why not? I knew it was gonna suck, and yeah, it sucked. Ryan Reynolds, he's great as Deadpool. I imagine this is probably a studio thing, because he actually knows comics. Hey, Green Lantern is so goddamn boring. It is so, like, it's weird. The superhero stuff is actually somehow more boring than the non-superhero stuff. Ryan Reynolds is Hal Jordan. Blake Lively, you know, I think they met on the set of Green Lantern. She's his love interest. But yeah, Hal, like, you know, he finds like an alien, like a dying alien, gives him like the ring, gives him like the power of the Green Lantern, and he goes like, honestly, I barely remember anything from this movie. That's how forgettable and terrible it was. Like, oh my god, this is when I was talking about Rings of Power and like how like F tier is reserved for incompetent movies. This movie is incompetent. Like, it does like almost nothing right. Even the effects look like garbage. Like, this movie looks ugly as hell. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, this is going in F tier. I really, really didn't like this movie. So you guys have heard the term Oscar bait, right? Like, that's been going around a lot with Emilia Perez, like, being nominated for 13 Oscars. I didn't watch that movie, so I'm not really going to talk about it much here. But the fact that it was nominated for 13 Oscars is ridiculous. Something kind of similar happened, like, back in, like, 2010, 2011? With a movie called Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, which is based on the book of the same name. So, context, last spring, I was taking a film class, sort of a literature film combo thing, where it was like books compared to their adaptations. And the next few are all from that class. And this is one of them. This is you talk about Oscar bait. This is what you go for, like a pretentious, cloying, sappy story. Like you have a kid who is like ambiguously mentally disabled. It takes place like after 9/11. Like his dad, Tom Hanks, died, and Sandra Bullock, his mom, is out trying to care for him. He meets this like mute guy who I don't remember if he finds this out, but like, or if it's just implied that he's his grandfather, Max von Sydow, by the way. It sort of runs around. He's trying to like come to. The story is. It's admirable what they're trying to do. It's trying to show him coming to terms with his father's death. The kid's name is Oscar, by the way. It had potential, but like they're so trying to be like cloying and really trying to make tug at your heartstrings that just comes off as extremely manipulative. I really don't like that at all. It's weird because like it was nominated for Best Picture that year, but it has like a 48% on Rotten Tomatoes. And yeah, which means only 48% of critics liked it or gave it a positive review. I don't understand that. Bohemian Rhapsody and Joker also didn't have great scores, but at least people like those movies. I don't get this one. Yeah, this is going in D tier. I did not like it at all. Memento was the next film on there, but I've already seen that movie. I love that movie. That is an amazing movie. Alright, next up on my list, this wasn't part of my film class. I don't know why this is, like, there, but it's Miss Congeniality. I think this is for a different class, actually. This is the kind of movie that I would never watch unless I was, like, told to for an assignment. Because it's, like, about Sandra Bullock again. She, has to, like, she's, like, this hard-ass, tomboyish cop lady, and she has to, like, go undercover in a beauty pageant, like sort of a Miss America pageant, find out, like, because like there's a big threat going on, like, it's like, it's so, Sandra Bullock is kind of fun here. Michael Caine as like her gay like advisor is fun. It's just not very funny. I get what they're trying to do with like the message and all, like she like could grow more like in touch with her feminine side. I just wasn't compelled. It was kind of boring, honestly. Benjamin Bratt is the love interest I didn't like. And I just don't really have much to say in this one. D tier. I didn't like it. Okay, back to the adaptations. Next up is another one that I would never watch unless it was for an assignment. 10 Things I Hate About You. This is actually a very loose adaptation of the William Shakespeare story, The Taming of the Shrew, which has some entertaining moments, but is very clearly a product of its time. This one immediately gets a point up because it has Heath Ledger in it. Yeah, the plot of the story is that there are two sisters named Bianca and Kat, because those were the names of the women in the original story were Bianca and Catherine. But like, and Bianca like wants to like find a date, but like their father is worried about like, you know, her like having sex and getting like getting a teen pregnancy, so he's like, he doesn't allow them to date. Bianca is really annoyed at this, and like pushes really presses her father, like, come on, Dad. But like, and her father's like, okay, I'll let you date, but only when your older sister does. And like, Kat is like, she's like, I don't care about dating and stuff. And so like, they tried to like find Bianca and her like love interest Cameron, who is a young Joseph Gordon-Levitt, by the way. They try to find someone who will willingly date Kat. And so they find this guy named Patrick, Heath Ledger, who's like this Australian bad boy. I have the Wikipedia article up here, which is why I remember more of this. And like, a lot of this is just typical like sitcom crap. Like, oh, I don't like you, I don't like you. Oh, I like you now. This is a lot of romances have this problem where like the beta couple, in this case Bianca and Cameron, is way more likable than the alpha couple, Kat and Patrick. And like, I'd much rather watch this thing about like Cameron and Bianca, like, because they're actually kind of sweet together, whereas the others, Kat and Patrick, are just kind of assholes. But it's not bad. It's not a bad movie. I think the story overall works okay enough. I'm gonna put it in C tier. Yeah. But thankfully, next up is No Country for Old Men, which I believe was the Best Picture winner of that year it came out. And I've never actually seen a Coen Brothers movie before. This is my first time, and while it is slow, that is one thing that, like, I know some people might be turned off by it. And it is very, like, sort of dark and almost nihilistic in a way. I thought it was excellent. Like, I think it was absolutely it lives up to the hype. The main thing, like, it is, I love the atmosphere of, like, this sort of Western thing. There's no score. It's basically, any music that plays here is just sort of played in universe, like, a little mariachi band, like here. Josh Brolin is great as Llewellyn Moss. Tommy Lee Jones is great as Sheriff Ed Tom Bell. The book is kind of like more about him because like because between chapters Sheriff Bell like has these little interludes. But he doesn't has much to do here. The standout here though is absolutely Javier Bardem as Anton Sugar. And yes, it is pronounced like that. I think they do make a point to pronounce like that in like the book and the film. He, like, when people talk about like the greatest movie villains, he's often up there, and I completely understand why. He's scary. Like, he is like so many depictions of psychopaths are just of them like laughing mad and stuff. Like, no, he is like just very borderline emotional. He completely believes in his insane logic. And he'll like kill you if you question it. Like the scene where he goes into the shop and like makes the clerk like flip a coin to decide whether he lives. That is like tense as hell. Like the scene where like he gets like someone to like this guy is like talking to him and he like gets like this like I forgot what the weapon is called. Sort of like this like hose gun thing he puts on his head. It's like hold still a moment. Like Jesus. But yeah, this is fantastic. I now do want to go watch more Coen Brothers stuff just to see like if there's anything like that's as good as this. This is the best thing that I've watched all last year. It's absolutely S tier. If you can stand like some slow to see film, this is a must watch. Along with Alien, this and Alien are like two movies you absolutely have to see. Yeah. For those who don't remember, last December I made a sort of 12 days of terrible holiday movies where each day I would talk about like another, like a worst holiday movie, like the top 12 worst holiday movies. Like you can see the full list up here. It's also on the first one you see on my channel page. And I'd seen most of them before, but there were a few that I had not seen. I specifically watched them just to see if they could make the list. And so the only ones I hadn't seen before then were, well, first up is the Santa Claus 3, The Escape Clause. I talk about these movies in those videos, so I'm not going to spend too much time on these. But, like, this one was really, really terrible. It's not, like, the worst. It is the most competently made of those movies, but it's so unfunny. It is just so unfunny. It is, like, groaners all the time. It's, like, Tim Allen is, like, fine as Santa. Like, he's, like, the first two were okay, I guess. I don't really like them, but like I can see the appeal. This one just sucks. This one sucks all the way through. So the plot is like Jack Frost is like tries to trick Tim Allen Santa with the titular escape clause. And, like Martin Short, I know can be funny, but he is so annoying, so obnoxious as Jack Frost, and makeup looks awful. It's so stupid. And like something I didn't mention in the video, there's a subplot with like Tim Allen's like in-laws. It's so dumb, and just try to convince them that he's Santa. Home Sweet Home Alone is next. I've only ever watched the first two Home Alone films before. I just picked this one because I heard it was the worst one. I don't know, maybe I'd hate the others more, but like this one sucked so much. This one sucked. The kid is pretty good, like it's the kid from Jojo Rabbit, but like the character he plays is like borderline psychotic. Like, and like the robbers are like these two parents who like are just trying to get like a doll of theirs. But like their torture is completely unwarranted. And like, it is so unpleasant. It is so, and also, you know, more unfunny slapstick. But like, what do you expect? Christmas with the Kranks is another one. This is like one of the most infamous ones. I know John Tron made a video on it. The Nostalgia Critic like made a video of it. This is widely regarded as one of the absolute worst. Like, I've seen a lot of people say it is the worst. It's another Tim Allen one. Tim Allen and Jamie Lee Curtis. They're pretty good actors, but like they have no chemistry here at all. It is so unfunny. Like they're like, we don't want to celebrate Christmas because our daughter is like on vacation and we have empty nest syndrome. That's fine, but they're both so obnoxious and like self-centered crap. And the neighbors are even worse because they're trying to force the Kranks to celebrate Christmas with them, even though they clearly don't want to. And it's like, so everyone in this movie sucks. And it's also unfunny. And Dan Aykroyd is like, I don't remember. Dan Aykroyd's like a neighbor or the mayor or something, and he's awful. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. It was only like number 7, I think, on my list. And the only reason is because I just hated the other 6 more. Including Saving Christmas by Kirk Cameron. This is a total snooze fest. It was legitimately a struggle to stay awake watching this one. Jesus. So the plot is like this guy named Christian who looks like Gordon Freeman from Half-Life. It's like, I don't know how I feel about all this Christmas stuff. Like, doesn't this go against the Bible? And Kirk's like, there's something about the Christmas trees in the Bible, so that means it's okay to do all the commercializing and stuff. That's the entire movie. It is so boring and so like broken. Like it's one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. It is like incompetent on like every level. This is the worst thing I've seen all year. F tier. All 4 of these movies are F tier. Also, like midway through the year, I was sort of in like a disaster movie thing. I watched 2012, but I'd seen the movie before. It's trash. But again, I'd seen it already, so I can't really talk about it here. What I haven't seen before is a Norwegian film I had never seen before called The Wave. And, okay, so before you watch this, one bit of advice, if you want to watch it, do not watch the English dub, because I made that mistake. The English dub is awful. It is so wooden and so stilted, it is almost comical. Just watch the original Norwegian version with English subtitles. Because, like, I actually like it. Like, I think it's actually a good movie. Like, it's about this father who's like a, I forgot, was it a meteorologist or climatologist or something? He gets word that there's like this big wave coming, like, there's like an avalanche. Yeah, there's like an avalanche, a collapsing crevice, like, causes a tsunami that, like, comes on. And, like, what I like is that there's not many characters. It's just, our main character is a geologist, Christian, and his wife and his children. And that's basically it. Like, there's the people at his job, but like they don't show up that much. And like there's a real intensity to it that like a lot of other disaster movies lose in their pursuit of spectacle. Like the emotions like actually like felt real. Like it felt suspenseful. Like there are multiple times I was sure some of them were going to die. And like it's quite good. Like the cinematography is really good. The effects are surprisingly good for a budget of only $6 million. Yeah. Apparently there's another like film afterwards, like The Earthquake or something. Like maybe I'll have to watch that one. But yeah, this one was good. Put it in B tier. Certainly a lot better than the other giant wave movie I watched that year, San Andreas. This is a movie with The Rock in it, and so you know how it's going to go. This is another one that ultimately favors spectacle. The spectacle is kind of cool. Like, the wave is gigantic, like how it would destroy San Francisco. But the problem with a lot of these spectacle, like, films is that the spectacle only takes up, like, 15 minutes of the film. Granted, this one takes up more. It's, like, the entire last third. But, like, the rest of it is just boring with characters you don't care about. Like, 2012 had this really bad. Most, Roland Emmerich films are this bad. This wasn't one. This was directed by Brad Peyton. I don't know any of this stuff. I kind of got a connection between The Rock and his daughter Alexandra Daddario, who is like the most intense eyes I've ever seen on an actor. Like, if you like look at her for like more than 3 seconds, I'm pretty sure she might hypnotize you. The big tsunami here is cool, but like other than that, it's not good. There's a lot of running around and stuff that just doesn't. D tier. And finally, before my voice dies out, let's talk about Dracula, Dead and Loving It. This is Mel Brooks' final directing role from the 90s. So he has Leslie Nielsen as Dracula, but that sounds funny. Unfortunately, it's not very funny. Like, they have a lot of like really obvious vampire stuff. A lot of like they are definitely trying to parody Bram Stoker's Dracula, but like it doesn't work at all. I don't hate it as much as others do. Like, is it worthy of an 11% on Rotten Tomatoes? No, but it's still pretty bad. You know, it's just not funny. Like, they play up like the sexualization of like the vampire brides, like, which I get that's the joke, but like it's comical but not all that funny. Like, that's just the thing. It's a Mel Brooks film that's just not very funny, which should be a crime. I love Mel Brooks movies. Like, Young Frankenstein is one of my favorite comedies ever. Spaceballs, like, objectively isn't like super great, but like, I love that movie too. Robin Hood Men in Tights has some really funny moments. I haven't seen The Producers yet, but I've heard like that's a classic. It's a classic with Gene Wilder. But yeah, it's an unfunny Mel Brooks movie should be a crime. D tier. And there we go. That's all of them. Jesus Christ, this took so long. I don't know, why did I do this? Whatever. So yeah, the whole tier list should be up here. Feel free to disagree in the comments. Hopefully I'll see more new movies this year, although, if I'm gonna be honest, 2025's movie lineup looks pretty bad. Like, there's I'm just looking through to see if there's anything that I actually like want to see. Like, I'm gonna see the new Jurassic World movie because dinosaurs. It's gonna suck. I guarantee you, it's gonna suck. The Minecraft movie looks terrible. Good luck to that Thunderbolts asterisk movie. Yeah, the asterisk is part of the title because, I don't know. I was gonna have a hard as hell time. I hope that Fantastic Four movie doesn't suck, because every Fantastic Four movie has been horrible, culminating in the worst of the 2015 one. I really want Superman to be good. Because, again, Superman is in desperate need of something good. Like, after the crap of the DCEU, and also Suicide Squad killed the Justice League, completely crapping on Superman and, well, everybody in that game. Zootopia 2, maybe that'll be good. We're getting like 3 live-action remakes here. We have Snow White and Lilo and Stitch from Disney, and then How to Train Your Dragon from DreamWorks. Oh god, make it stop. We have a new Final Destination. They're still making new Final Destination movies. We're getting like the finale for like Mission Impossible. Too cool. A new Karate Kid for some reason. A John Wick spin-off called Ballerina. A brand new Pixar film, Elio. A Smurfs movie with a character called Influencer Smurf. A Mortal Kombat sequel. Another Tron film. Like, when was the last Tron film? It was like 2005 with like Tron Legacy. I didn't like that one at all. Another Predator film, Wicked 2. I didn't see the first one. Five Nights at Freddy's 2, Avatar 3. Yeah, I don't. There's not much that I want to watch. Well, the best games of 2024 video should be next, unless something comes up that I'll want to talk about more. See you, everybody.